Over the last month or so, I've been finding great enjoyment in Tenno gameplay. As the only mildly meal-sized, somewhat reasonably huntable herbivore for the current roster of available carnivores, solo or duo tenonto is easily the best herbivore experience if you're looking to live life on the edge. I hadn't been nested in as a tenno in quite some time, and so when an egg was offered, I was happy to take it. I had hatched on a beach somewhere within a spawn zone, I knew that much. I'd spawned here as a dilo a few times in the past, though honestly I yeeted myself to respawn elsewhere most of those times. My parents were attentive and prepared. Those of us that were given private eggs would grow to juvenile before the remaining eggs were to be changed to public. This would protect us from being attacked by rogue hatchlings should a troll take an egg. Much of my early life as a hatchling was quiet. The adults had chosen well in nesting here, and they'd done so with saltwater mutation, so that getting water wouldn't be an issue. Before long, the herd had grown quite large, and though most of us were young, a herd of tenontos this size would be incredibly formidable, should all of us make it to adulthood. Of course, that was not going to be the case. One of the publicly nested siblings kept screaming despite warnings from both parents and was silenced permanently. Another had to log out soon after reaching juvenile. By the time it was migration day, only one of the publicly nested siblings remained. Still a formidable group though, should the rest of us survive. We stopped at a small pond for water, and I spotted a pair of Pachys on the other side. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. I do not trust Pachys. My guard went up, but I hoped that perhaps they'd be friendly. Those hopes were dashed quickly as they came running toward us. I made some distance before realizing the rest of my siblings weren't following. I turned back to see what was going on, and my fears had been realized. The Pachys were on the attack, aiming for the juveniles. Lore jumped into the pond and swam. They had the right idea. Pachy swims much slower than Tenno. Even if they attempted to chase us out into the water, our parents could give them a few nasty bites for the effort. With one sibling hiding and the rest of us in the water, our parents chased the Pachy pair into the forest, where they vanished. We swam to the tiny nub of an island. Quite unfortunately, as we rested and healed, the juvenile Cerrado logged in, right on top of us. After mourning our lost family member, we started to leave the area. This place was much more dangerous than we had anticipated when we stopped for a drink, and it was time to get out. It was in this moment that the Pachys returned. We still weren't very large, but at least now we all weighed more than an adult Pachy. This time, our parents made quick work of the danger. Now it was time to leave. But not before a stego mixpacking with a Cerrado showed up to munch on the corpses our little herd had left in our wake. Ultimately, our travels led us to Delta River. We'd been unable to find all 3 diets up to this point, and I was absolutely itching to get my 3rd diet filled. You see, much of my growth took place before the diet update dropped, so activating the bars was still a thing. Once I had perfect diet, another sibling logged out, and the rest of the herd traveled around Delta, finding food to help us continue our growth. I wasn't far into fresh adulthood when we came across a Carno. It killed a galley in the bushes nearby, and we stopped only to eat the diet food up the hill from him. Rather than eating his kill, though, the Carno charged through the middle of the herd, hitting me. My feelings. So yeah, ultimately I just chased after him with a frowny face until he passed through the gates and vanished into the forest. With server populations waning, I decided to call it a night. The next time I logged in, the update had dropped. And with it, crashing. So much crashing. Oh my goodness, the crashes. I managed to refill most of my diets after vomiting and diet maxing for a short time before moving to the migration zone in East. There I found some nesting tenos and inserted myself into their herd. Solo was fine sometimes, but I was feeling rather lonely on my own. I figured I'd hang around for a moment, enjoy some company, and then be on my way. But then I spotted a familiar face in the official Discord server. If you saw the Living Rough Tenonto video, you may remember the bold Pachy that came to my aid against the Cerrados. Well, he was looking for an egg, and I just so happened to be sitting with a nest full of them. Anyway, once he had been nested in, I decided I would stick around instead of just passing through. And so my Tenonto became an uncle. This area was a bit less tranquil than some. With a sanctuary nearby, alongside the new eastern swampy lake, there were a few potential threats, at least to the hatchlings. The hatchlings grew, and I did my part to help, grabbing mangoes from a nearby tree so they could get diets. And then going to grab a clump of fireweed to ensure they had options. One great thing, though, is the new diet system makes feeding your hatchlings much less food and diet intensive. Significantly less punishing to try and keep them fed. Eventually, a small Cerrado with a death wish charged toward one of the adult members of the herd. I'm honestly not sure what his plan was, but with so many flailing tails and feet, he didn't survive for long. As the hatchlings grew into juveniles, they kept warning that they'd seen a Cerrado. Each time I went to look around, I didn't see it, but my guard was up all the same. If they said there was a Cerrado stalking around, I believed them. And so, when they said they saw it yet again, and I spotted something moving up the hill, I did not hesitate to charge. Pachy. Never mind. Not long after, the other adults began to log out, and it was just me and the mother of the hatchlings. I had not been part of the main group, but now the one that I was grouped with was logging out, and I decided I should probably not lose my herd. Of course, Just as I requested an invitation, the Serrato was spotted again. And this time, I saw it. Nah. He'd been spotted enough times now that I definitely felt like he was waiting to catch one or more of the babies alone. I wasn't going to let that happen. Tenonto is absolutely intended to be a defensive playable, fighting at its best when it's being chased, rather than doing the chasing. This Serrato, though, he needed to go. I wasn't going to risk him coming back. Was it a perfect fight? Not remotely. But hey, at least Serrato Bile has been properly tuned down again, and it doesn't one-hit vomit Tenno anymore. I returned from battle to find that the mother had logged out in my absence. Oh. Well, I guess my Tenno was a father now. We returned to the pond for water and to wait out my vomit sickness. Only for the children to point out a pair of Dilos stalking us from the bushes. Here we go again. Attempting to fight Dilos while not hitting my wards is also not easy. One wrong kick and they'd be critically injured or dead. Luckily, I had inherited children that were not helpless. Time after time, they knocked the Dilos to the ground, giving me opportunities to follow up with kicks. I was so proud of them. With both Dilos down and all the kids still alive, we healed off our envenomation and bleed before starting back toward the beach for food. Except the server crashed again and I returned to only 2 juveniles. One logged out soon after, and the other traveled with me to south, where the server crashed yet again. Fed up with the crashing issues, I waited a few patches to log back in again. I was in South. Solo. Not exactly the best place to be a solo Tenonto, but honestly, recently I've had a heck of a time finding anyone anywhere, despite the server being full. So I began making my way toward Highlands. On the way, a Serrato spotted me. We danced for only a short moment, but 2 kicks to the face sent him on his way, and I decided to trot up a nearby hill to heal off my bleed and eat before continuing my journey. By the time I was on the move again, night had fallen, and with it, a rainstorm. Ahead, a trio of raptors watched me approach. I prepared to fight, but maintained my confident stride forward. The first one pounced me. and then everything broke. One dismounted, but was frozen in place and unable to be hit. Then the second pounced, and I learned that bucking is busted again. And not like mildly busted, but it's like drain your entire bar of stamina because holding E didn't actually do anything the first 3 times you held it, and now you've released it, but your tenno started bucking and won't stop until you get the raptors off level with broken. So there I was, quite suddenly with 24% stamina. Cool. But 2 of the raptors had entirely vanished now, so there's that, I suppose. I laid down to regain stamina, and a Herrera jumped me. Ow. What a pain in the neck. I knew I'd be bleeding badly from that, so I moved to a new bush that I figured would be outside the range of his tree. Of course, as soon as I did that, the remaining raptor returned. What should have been a rather routine fight against raptors had very quickly gone from no big deal to, well shoot, I think I might very well die. That Herrera pounce had done a number on my blood pool, and now I had to deal with the raptor again too. When fighting raptors as a tenno, the alt claw attack is honestly your best weapon. Tail slams and kicks often miss the agile little things. And though taking a face kick isn't ideal in the situation I was in, it was infinitely better than dealing with the bugged buck again. At least this way I could punish the raptor for every attack he made. When it backed off, I prepared to lay down again. Only for that dang Herrera to jump from who even knows where and set my blood pool draining heavily once more. Gosh dang it, you little turd! I moved further away, hoping I'd chosen a spot outside of the Herrera's jumping range, and that my bleed would heal. I'd survived against worse odds after all. I watched my blood pool closely, begging it to start to heal, preferably before the raptors returned. It did. And then I accidentally made noise, revealing my location to the raptors the instant they walked into view. I don't know what I hoped to accomplish, but it certainly wasn't that. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please make sure to leave a like and comment your thoughts below. If you're new around here or haven't already, why not subscribe for more content like this? Also, the Dapper Dryo merch has arrived for November if you'd like to support my channel that way. Thanks, and I'll see you soon.